They all said, "Tell Jerry, it's cool, you're cool, and we're all still cool."
Oh, good.
Something like that.
Where'd you go dive today?
From the windward side of Honolulu Bay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I live on that
But the
side.
most of the two islands. Oh, Jeff said, Jeff's just down the hall from me.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, Jeff and Terry are there.
Okay.
81 or something. I might call it desk, but right out. Yeah.
Did you see Gilligan's Island? That little tiny one? That's flat.
Yeah, we're right next to that.
That's,
right farther than that.
Right, I know. I live right over there.
Oh, is that the sand out there?
That's Gilligan's Island. When
Gilligan's
you watch
Island.
the TV show, and then you wonder how it took them 20 years to get back.
Right.
All right, Steve, what do you got?
Let me just get. You want to go take a picture? Yeah, I'm a gigantic.
If you have to.
Sure,
Whatever.
Big,
Anything you like as long as it doesn't hurt.
no, that's my motto.
Yeah, right.
Okay, one more time. Good. Can you get one of me with it? I have this collection of all these people.
Sure, why not?
What the hell now?
I wouldn't want to fuck up your collection.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's
Fucking
good. Garcia would
cool.
let me take a picture of it.
Right there. Okay.
Okay. How about a handshake?
Okay.
Yeah, just nice meeting you. Thank you. I'll put, the last one was Sammy Moore, Sam and Dave.
Yeah.
And he was, I grew up listening to Rascals and him and all the soul stuff. And,
Yeah, absolutely.
and everybody else listened to, I guess, you folks. And,
Hey, nobody listens to us, man. A handful of freaks listen to us. Everybody else listens to Sam and Dave and the Rascals and the
You're
others.
still here though, right?
Well, if you stick to it long enough, eventually you get good. That's the moral of that story, if there is one.
Is it scuba diving you go, or snorkeling? How long have you been into scuba diving?
Let's see, getting on to 3 years now. Not very long, but I'm long enough to. I really love it. It's something I really enjoy.
This is after the illness? Or?
Yeah, since the illness.
Doctor tell you to lower your stress or something? How
No.
Found it?
No, I have a friend who's been into it for some time, and she's been had been wanting to turn us all actually onto it. She lived over here. I'd never come over here really much, so one of the times I came over, rented a house in Kauai. He came over with Steve and some other friends, some of the guys in the band, and she came over to the island and says, "I'm taking you guys scuba diving," and she took us out for an introductory dive with some local people over there on a boat, and I just had such a great time. I really enjoyed it. Then I decided I would get certified. So I did that back at home and all that, and I did my final, my open water dive over at Kona, Big Island, with some other friends of ours. And I also did my advanced open water over there too. I like it a lot.
What does it feel like to be under there? I mean,
Have you ever been scuba diving?
No, I've been snorkeling. I haven't been scuba diving.
Well, if it helps if you like the water.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that likes the water. I like the way it feels. I just like slipping around in it. And it's the closest you're going to get to being a fish. If you ever had fantasies as a kid of being a fish or swimming off with the sharks or something like that, any of that kind of stuff, it's perfect. It's great. You know, I mean, the closer you get, you're going to get to becoming marine life yourself. And so, as far as the experience is also, if you like fish, the experience is like having a sort of an infinite aquarium to swim around in, actually, where you can touch stuff and pick stuff up and look at things. And there's a lot to learn, and it's also a nice physical experience. You know, plus it's very easy. It's not a difficult thing to do. It isn't really hard.
Not too strenuous.
Well, it's a certain kind of strenuous, but it's not. It's perfect for somebody like me.
I was going to say, you're not known to get up there and jog above.
No, I'm not. I'm not into high impact kind of activity, but I still am basically a physical person. I mean, playing music is a physical thing. You know, it's about muscles and muscle control and that. So it's what I do is physical. It's not strenuous, but it is physical. So the diving is one of those things. Only it has a component of interest going for it, where there's stuff that you learn about. You learn about what you're looking at. And if you're at all interested or intrigued by it, you start to see circles within circles, what things eat what things. And it's interesting from a biological viewpoint. Everything that's underwater around here in these waters lives. The coral lives. The goo lives. Everything you see lives. You know, everything is alive, and everything is busy eating something or being eaten by something. And it's a fascinating.
You feel like an alien or something going in on another world.
Yeah, I just feel like a fish. Yeah.
I'll be out of your way.
Okay, take care.
Okay. Have a good concert.
I hope so.
I'll see you back at the office. I'll come here.
Bye.
So the show in Hilo is for Torch? Is that?
Yeah, that's right.
The ocean research? I don't know what to see it is.
Something or I don't know what it is. It's an acronym, and it doesn't really mean anything except that it's a lot of people there who are professionally involved in water recreational things of one sort or another, fishing, scuba diving, all that sort of stuff. People who use the water for recreational, professional purposes. And that's essentially who the people are that Torch is.
And that
I can find out exactly the acronym. Hey, what's the acronym mean, Torch? Again, ask Jeff. Is he there?
Torch is
Yeah.
Ocean,
The
Ocean and Recreation Council.
the Ocean and Recreation Council of Hawaii.
Ocean Recreation, no
Ocean Recreation. Ocean Recreation. That makes more sense. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll talk
so the
about
concert is a benefit to raise money for them to save the coral reef. Is that?
Yeah, it's essentially, if you've been following the reef beef deal that's been going on over there for some time, it has to do with the anchor mooring pins that are being set in there, and the ongoing drama about getting licensed and getting them set in.
This on Kona side or Hilo?
It's on the Kona side so far, yeah.
I think it's going to be all the islands.
But right now,
I just came back from the Big Island. I was covering the volcano.
right.
And it just sort of.
Get any on you?
No, you get real close to it. It's
I believe that.
It's intense. It's like this town was there, and now it's
Now it's gone.
a ghost town. And if you get a chance, I'd go check it out. It's still.
I probably will, yeah.
Well,
It's one of those things. It's just not a real great idea to build your house
No, actually,
between the volcano and the ocean.
It's a real sacred kind of place to the ancient Hawaiians, and a lot of hippie folk move over. And land was so cheap; it was like the last place you could buy land on these islands.
Well, now everybody
People are
knows
building out
why.
their shacks, and they all
I mean, it's
kind
just,
of,
it's one of those things. It seemed
rather memorable.
it's easy from California to say, hey, but I feel sorry for the people who've had that happen to them. It's like the ultimate bad trips. There's nothing you can do about it. Lava is one of those things. There's not a thing you can do about it. It's not like you can stand in your backyard with a hose or something, and
No, it is pretty weird. Most of them took it pretty well, though. They're just, oh, we'll just move 3 miles down the road until the next one gets us. They're just married to that area.
Right, well, it's one of those things, once it's
Places,
happened to
yeah.
you, there's not really a whole lot you can do. It doesn't have to complain. You know?
They're like, you know, you accept the reality of you're in danger.
Let's see what the hell this is.
ABS Media Day.
Hello. Hello. Hi, sweetheart. Can I call you back? I'm right in the middle of an interview. Yeah. What's your name again?
Ben DiPietro.
Ben DiPietro. Want to speak to him? Say hello. Okay, yeah.
Who's this?
ABS Media Day.
Hello? How you doing? I sure will. He's my hero too. Alrighty, thanks.
Hello, hon? Yeah,
ABS Media Day.
that's right. Okay. Okay, you want to call me back in about 45 minutes? Okay, I'll call you.
ABS Media Day.
He says if I'm having sex with you, please use a condom. Jesus.
Who is that?
It's my girlfriend.
Your
ABS
your
Media Day.
kid too with you too, or just
No, Trixie, one of my daughters, is going to probably come. She's 15. She'll probably she's going to come to Kona, I think, for a weekend. But they're all in school and stuff. So.
ABS Media Day.
When's the last time you went on vacation?
Well, my whole life is a vacation. You know what I mean? You mean when was the last time I came to Hawaii?
No, when's the last time you actually took, like you said, time here and said, no, I was going away from the whole...
Well, this isn't strictly speaking.
No,
I mean, I'm
work
going to be
vacation,
working. You know, so this is a working vacation. Last time I was over here and did this was January. I get out for about anywhere from 3 weeks to a month of diving, about twice a year, maybe 3 times a year. It depends on whether I'm lucky or not, you know, and what the space is like in Grateful Dead schedule. But usually, for the last 3 years anyway, we've had kind of like occasional month-long holds in our schedules that allow us all to do stuff like this. We finally got smart.
Timed it in there, yeah.
Yeah, right. And just say, hey, you know, there's no real reason why we have to work during this period of time. We can work if we want to. But on the other hand, see, this is one of those things that works for you and against you. When you take a vacation, the way the Grateful Dead works and the way the music is and everything like that, when you take a vacation, it takes a while to get back into it. So we still are playing well if we're no farther than 2 weeks from any major shows. You know what I mean? But over 2 weeks, when you get out into 3 weeks in a month, it really starts to get rusty. And so then it's one of those things where we're the first 2 or 3 shows of a tour, any given tour, or we're playing makeup. You know, and it takes about three shows or so to get back to where we were. And then another, maybe another week before we start actually getting to new territory, so to speak.
There's no truth that you're scouting out new spots underneath the water. It might be a little more peaceful at this point.
Not really. We have been getting a lot of shit lately back home.
Another one happened this weekend, huh? I just talked to friends in LA.
Well, it actually
peripheral thing that has nothing to do with the show, but you'll get
for
blamed for it.
That's right. Somebody will find a way to hang it on us anyway. Or we will be
Implicated, yeah.
smirched. None of the good stuff ever makes it. You know, nothing good ever makes the papers. But of course, that's the nature of news. The nature of news is that it's the bad stuff. Mostly, I mean.
I agree. I call the cops every morning who died. No one,
Yeah.
and I get it. You know,
Right.
Damn it,
It's not news unless something bad happens. So that tends to be. We fall within that parenthesis. You know what I mean? Although the fact is that our shows have actually been getting more well behaved and more. The audience is getting more and more responsible every show. They're like getting to be amazing now compared to most rock and roll audiences. I mean, our audience actually picks up after itself. And
Oh, and I've been to 105.
You're a dentist.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
what
I
am I
thought you mentioned that
talking
to
about?
you. No, that was why this was.
I
this photo with
see.
you. This is
Okay.
beyond.
Right.
This is like getting to Oz and meeting the wizard.
Well, shit. Come on, man.
I really, well, I mean, I know you don't like that.
Oh, Jesus.
I know you don't. It's hard for you to accept that there are people like that.
It's hard for me just to play, I mean, everything else, everything above and beyond that is really, I mean, well, it's hard for me to take it seriously because, I mean, really, there's nothing special about being in the Grateful Dead except for what we collectively all go through, but I mean, it's the audience that certainly goes through every bit as much of it as I do.
Oh, yeah, no,
maybe
it's
more,
What you do is you, at least from my perspective, you express what we are actually realizing that we're feeling, or what's just underneath our surfaces a lot of times. And I think that's where a lot of your, the fact that you maintain that integrity toward it is
well,
what I get.
It's not one of those things that it's not a question of being able to. It's not a question of maintenance. It's one of those things of where we really don't have any choice. You know what I mean? We just do what we think we're doing. You know what I mean? And our version of the Grateful Dead as well. We have to practice and we have to work up some old tunes. And if Weir has to do that tune one more time, I'm going to go nuts. You know what I mean? It's real regular.
Yeah.
And we do it just the way we think we're supposed to. But there's something about it that we don't understand either. You know what I mean? And we certainly don't have any control over it. It's part of what it turns out to be, somehow. But just because we're in that position doesn't mean that we don't have any jurisdiction over it. Certainly, we certainly don't have any control over it. It seems to want to happen, and that's it. All the rest of it is the whole thing has kind of invented itself. Everybody seems to want it to happen, so whatever it is happens. It's a mechanism of that sort, that.
What I'm amazed is I had moved to Oregon, and so I've only been to maybe 4 or 5 in the last 2 years, and there's usually a wide gap in between them now. But when I go, it's like the instant you're in, it's just like picking right back up where you were. You run into the same people in the same exact location because you just knew they were going to be there.
Yeah,
and it's really like that a lot. It's great that you can have something to plug in and out, and
well, it's also
you're in it all the time or not, or whether you're stuck here and you go back just occasionally.
It's a huge community.
Part of it, yeah.
That's the other part that's fun, and that's fun for us too. It's fun, the thing of looking out and having that continuity of the same faces. It makes it so that you really do get conscious about. Well, we can't do what we did last time because
there's these quarter of the people.
These people heard us do that. We have to try to do something else. So that's part of the thing that keeps us on our toes. The fact that the audience is rigorous. As opposed to most audience, they're not a passive audience. They're working hard. A lot of them, most of them are working pretty hard.
How does that differ from Jerry Band? I mean, where does that fit into you? Like what?
Well, my band, I don't know. I don't know because once again, it's something that's happening outside of me, and I can't really see it. I'm just up there doing what I like to do. For me, the Garcia Band is like. For me, it's fun. I do the songs that I love, no matter whose they are or where they come from, and it's very consonant. Whereas the Grateful Dead has some elements of dissonance in it that makes it interesting. In other words, we don't all agree absolutely about what is totally the right thing at any given moment. My band has much more of it's more music of agreement in a way. I don't really have a hard time explaining this too, but the people in the band play the way I would play if I were playing their instruments, kind of. It reflects more of my tastes specifically.
Do you feel that there's still a bit more intimacy involved in JGB because you play in smaller places?
Oh yeah, well that's part of it too. That And I've always, well, originally my band, up until a couple of years ago, my band played mostly bars and stuff. So I liked keeping in touch with that. That's part of my roots, you know, the thing of just playing in bars for a rowdy bar crowd.
Yeah, I used to go to the country club for theater.
Yeah.
ABS
You know,
Media Den.
2 feet away. And
Yeah.
that's a great
And
place.
that's that kind of stuff, those kind of venues that's the place where we played for years and years. And it's only in the last couple of years that we sort of graduated to theaters. Now in San Francisco at any rate, the Warfield, which has been converted over to a huge bar in a way, has become our key, like the Keystone used to be. It's become our sort of neighborhood bar. But again, it's one of those things where the band has to work in the cracks that are left by the Grateful Dead and the Grateful Dead schedule. You know, so.
Did you practice with them before you got here? When's the last time you all got
No, we
together?
played a couple of shows not too long ago, though, within the last 3 weeks. And
ABS Media Den.
I mean, my band. Also, you got to remember now, my band with these people in it has been together for 8 years, which is longer than a lot of bands are in existence. And me and John have been playing together for almost
Long time,
shit
man.
for,
He's been at every one.
ABS Media
yeah, for quite a long time. So the roots of this music and this band go pretty deep. I think that's probably the thing that surprises most people is how really complete the music is.
ABS
And it's
Media
a big sound too for what's essentially a 4-piece band.
Now, in some ways, I almost enjoy it more because there's that.
There's a lot of people that do.
You just let it all. You know, there's a lot more freewheeling
ABS Media Den.
atmosphere to it.
Well, it's fun for me, you know. It's fun for me.
Really
It's one of those things that it never is a burden. It's, you know, sometimes the Grateful Dead is so huge, it can be cumbersome. You know, although I love it too. It's you know,
ABS Media Den.
it's I don't know what it's like. It's like you're somebody had some good metaphor somewhere. Oh, Dick Allgaier said he read something on the well where somebody said something
ABS
like
Media Den.
Grateful Dead is my luxury liner and Garcia Band is my speedboat or something. It's not exactly accurate, but okay, you know, that works pretty good. I would put it more like, yeah,
ABS
I don't know
Media
how I
Den.
put it. You know, so I have described it before. It's like kind of like the Grateful Dead is your wife, you know, and the Garcia Band is my girlfriend, kind of my wife, my girlfriend.
ABS Media
I think I can say that here in Hawaii without offending anybody. Oh, this is AP, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ah, shit.
Did JTB put out the acoustic album? I keep hearing that an electric one is due.
Well,
Is that
we have
happening?
recorded. It's whether an album is going to come out of it remains to be seen, but eventually something will. But we've recorded really successfully one group of gigs at the Warfield in San Francisco, and I think I'd like to record at least one more run of 3 or 4 days, and I think then we'd have an album in the can. The results are, some of the things sound really, the sound is excellent on the tapes, so I think we're going to get a good sounding album out of it. As far as when, it probably, I don't know when, you know, maybe the end of this year or early next year. Maybe before that if we get really, really lucky, but you know, that's, you know, we might be able to book 4 days right at the beginning of August or something
Yeah,
like
I
that.
already got
I
that
mean,
worked out.
that would work out really great.
We have a couple other openings.
Anyway, it isn't definitely. We don't have it done.
It's still in the can.
It's still on the. Yeah, right. It's
Work in progress.
whatever. Yeah, work in progress. That's always a good excuse. It's work in progress. But the early proofs look good. It looks like it's going to sound pretty damn good. I was amazed myself. I haven't been listening to us for a long time. And God, I couldn't believe it. It sounded so
I think this current version is one of the better.
Oh, this is definitely it.
Together.
This is the Garcia Band here. Yeah, this is definitely it. This is the best it's ever been, and it's at this stage, it's just been getting better and better and better. The players are everybody in the band loves the music, and everybody in the band likes the band, and everybody in the band, it's a chemistry thing too. It's one of those things that, with the Grateful Dead, we were very lucky. We were lucky that the chemistry between everybody was has always been just amazingly good. And the Garcia band, this version of it, the chemistry is really great. Everybody really likes it, and everybody puts a lot into it, and it works.
You gonna come to the show, man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got
It'll be fun playing over here. The setting is so pretty.
the outside here, yeah. I've been to the shell, I've been here about 5 months. First time.
Yeah, I'm sorry we aren't doing more than one show here, but it's because that's usually better for us, is that we play better if we do have 2 nights running, 3 nights running. But even so, I have a feeling that we'll do really nicely here.
Yeah, it's got that nice outdoor. Have you been to you're playing the Hilo?
I haven't played in Hilo, no, but I know the place a little bit. I know about it.
UB40 just played there, and they had a mini riot. The other guys are next one in town.
Oh, great.
You know,
Who is it to play there?
UB40.
Oh,
They're doing a little Hawaiian Island tour here. Working vacation, I guess. And
You know, a police officer.
after the show, there was a fight that broke out. Something about 200 kids were involved, and the next day they found a policeman of severe beating to the head.
no shit, really? Horrible. Fucking
So yeah, you guys are the next ones in there, so it may not be as casual maybe as we were hoping. I didn't know if you know they're just on the news tonight.
Well, I think we're bringing a crowd that isn't exactly the bludgeon about the head.
No,
and
I didn't
shoulders,
think UB40 was the bludgeon type either, though.
Well, you never know.
It's just the location. People are pretty starved there for entertainment.
They must be fucking starved for something if they're killing people at a UB40 concert. What's the matter? Don't they have any rap bands over here that they can go kill people
They
at?
can do it their own way. Yeah, no, that's the. I just heard about it the other day. I guess he died Sunday into Monday.
Shit, that's really a drag. Well, it's one of those things. It's just, I mean, I don't know. I don't think you can blame music for
It could be
that.
unrelated to the show, you know, in some way.
It's just like the stuff on our shows.
I don't know the details.
No, I just know they've attributed it to, they were throwing rocks in bottles, and it just looked like he got a severe bruise to the head. I don't know if he got hit with a bottle or something, just fumbled it. But,
He might have been a guy that everybody hated.
yeah,
You can't tell with stuff like that.
yeah, so, you know, that's true.
He's been beating up drugs for years over there.
They all got back out.
You never know. Oh, this is the one about the band.
Oh, it's the,
Traveling All-Stars or something or another. Oh, no, that's the other one. It's the one about the something or the Dixie something or another.
yeah, Dixie.
The Dixie Chickens.
Let's stick it on bad news for a minute. I guess you've been out the band from the Greek and the Frost. But
That's
that's home. I mean, those are
but
I became a dead in their Frost.
I know, but it's one of those things. It's here. We've been having trouble with them all along. See, I mean, it's not.
It hasn't been.
It's not. It's partly the university, but it's mostly the people who live around the area.
The funny thing is, if I could just interject something for a second, and this is really baffling to all of us, Ben. You might be able to help us. We didn't even want to play there this year.
No, we
That's
didn't
the
have any
we
place to
don't
play
go to
there.
places, you know.
We can't. Yeah, it's really cumbersome anymore to play there.
That's what's so strange about it. We weren't even going to play there. You know?
But they've made such a point of scored so many points by it, and now they are going to let us play.
It got more airplay. It was everywhere in the country. It was baffling.
Yeah, it came over the wire.
It got everywhere. Then it got like entertainment.
And they've been discussing it endlessly. I mean, it's not enough that they just mention it, but they've also
We weren't
been.
even going to go there. We were stretching it by playing in those places because they're kind of on the small side.
Yeah, we've gotten to the point where it's done. Does anybody want anything to drink? There's a couple of beers in there if you're interested. You'll have to get it yourself, though, because
Yeah, I'm thinking more in terms from like a standpoint that it's always been the
well, they're
place
great.
to see.
I love
Yeah,
the but I can still play there with my band.
the universities were never open. They never really felt comfortable having.
No.
It's Stanford's a pretty, stodgy place.
The ironic thing is they let Paul McCartney, UC let Paul McCartney play in their stadium. They don't let anybody in there. It's one of those things, I don't know, what is it? The thing about a prophet doesn't get no respect.
His own house.
Yeah, it's one of those trips. I mean, I don't want to compare us. I don't want to liken us to Jesus. Actually, both places are places that are kind of special, but at least we still have one outdoor place in the Bay Area that we can play. We can still play Shoreline, which is, while it's highly controlled, is an awfully nice place to play. It sounds good there. It's agreed, I'll miss most, I think. Just because it's really beautiful from an on-stage point of view, and that's one of the things that's rare. I mean, it's one thing to be in the audience looking at the stage, but it's another thing to be on the stage looking at the audience.
Yeah.
And then the Greek Theater is one of those places the audience looks great. They kind of wrap around, and it looks just, what it's like. It's just a great looking place. And there's an intimacy there for an outdoor thing, too, that really, you feel pretty close to everybody there. It's just about throw a rock at anybody in the audience.
But, yeah, it sure is sort of cutting down on what are the options.
Well, we were having this problem everywhere, really.
Right.
I mean, the thing was, the last couple of tours, we've earned a lot of, we've done a lot of makeup. I mean, the audience is behaving itself so well, extraordinarily well, and we haven't had any real difficult, complex incidents. In all the places we play, the big places. And so, I mean, everybody knows, in the audience anyway, we've been communicating to the deadheads, what it is that we have to deal with, and all this stuff is, they know about all the struggles that we're having and all the problems we're having about the deadheads calling attention to themselves and trying not to scare the people in the town and trying not camping out, doing all the stuff that we've had to eliminate because it's getting in the, it's frankly too large for most of the places we play. Except for New York City, where we could play forever in Madison Square Garden. There could be all the deadheads in the world there, and it's just another thing in New York.
Yeah.
It's just, there it doesn't, that's probably the one big exception. But other places, they get uptight about the downtown area. San Francisco they do, and a lot of other places.
So why do you play Brendan Byrne and Nassau then instead of just going to the park?
Well, because we can't always get the Garden. The Garden is a highly desirable place to work on any level. So everything else, the circus and everything else, gets there before we do usually. We're usually only ahead. We're only about a year ahead of ourselves. In fact, we're usually not even that much. We're usually 6 to 8 months ahead of ourselves, and that's usually not enough time to get the the timing the way we want it. You know what I mean? So then we have to settle for whatever else we can get. Usually, yeah. Also, the Garden is a tremendously expensive gig too.
Yeah,
from our point of view, the overhead is amazing there. It really is. You can imagine what it's like. It's got the biggest union crew in the world, probably. Just the overhead generally is very, very, because it's so visible, it's very, very expensive. And staying in New York City, that's expensive too. So the whole deal is, it's more, we play there because it's a kick in the ass, and not because it's a hugely profitable venue.
Is that what keeps you from playing here too?
Well, there isn't any place to play here. I never realized the stadium was quite so big. That's it. The stadium, I guess, is it, huh?
That would probably be the one place I could accommodate.
Yeah, we probably will play here if we ever get around to going to the Orient, to Japan or Australia, which we keep talking about doing, but always stays about a year away. It's like, yeah, sure, next spring we're going to go to the Orient. And we're actually going to go to Europe this autumn, which is in itself is a major accomplishment.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I remember I was there in '85 and people were, what they would do is like rent out this barn house and get this gigantic sound system and just play tape for 24 hours and pretend they were at a show, and they'd have like,
right,
they'd have cake with the little just outside of London, there's these people. It's called the Deadhead Information Exchange. I don't even know if they're around anymore or not. And it's just like,
People that receive
man who
so
has about,
little,
3,000 hours
they've
in
received so
audio
little
tape,
attention from us.
and hadn't been to a show since like 1972 or something, and was still waiting it, and they get all these people from all over the country to come flock to this place
ABS Media
for a day, and I happen to meet up with them and go to one of their parties, and it's a real trip. Good time. Yeah, they just sit there and wait, tell them to come back. It's like I just left the East Coast store. I said, yeah, I just saw them more times this month than I guess you have in your life, man. And they were just tremendously into it.
I know, it's the hardest thing in the world for us to make that jump from the East Coast to Europe.
So, no Red Square this fall then, or is that?
Not Red Square, but we are playing Berlin.
West Berlin.
West Berlin, not East
Wow,
Berlin.
that should be cool.
ABS Media Demo.
We're trying to work that out.
Yeah, we're working on it. Yeah, that's still not
Then
absolutely.
it's written, solid.
ABS Media
That should
Demo.
keep things interesting for a while. You're gonna, I've heard Crosby, Stills and Nash in a big summer.
Yeah, Crosby, Stills and Nash are opening some. Bruce Hornsby's opening some, and Edie Brickell and New Bohemians are opening some.
That's a good
ABS
fit.
Media Demo.
There's always just comparisons.
Yeah, well,
I guess you did a little work with her.
yeah, I think she's just great. I love her a lot. She's also a member of the Garcia's Mystery All-Star Darkness and Confusion band.
ABS Media Demo.
Well, no, this is actually something I'm going to do sometime in the next year or so. I've been working on it ever since I worked with Edie and Rob Wasserman, and it may get Bruce Hornsby and maybe Branford
ABS Media
Marcellus.
Demo.
Actually, Bruce is in. Branford is in too.
Do a series of shows or something.
Yeah, it's going to be a kind of a one-shot deal, but Edie Brickell has this fabulous thing that she can do that's like magic. You can play any melody or any style of music, any changes, and she can spontaneously invent a song that goes with it.
ABS Media
A perfect
Demo.
melody, perfect length, and it'll make sense and everything. I mean, it's incredible. I've never heard anybody can improvise right in the now, absolutely on the spot, and make it sound really, really good. Like something,
ABS Media
she can do it with the same authority that any good instrumentalist can play a nice, confident solo. Only she doesn't have to have heard it before. She can do it cold.
Just on the fly.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've always had this fantasy of having a band that doesn't have any material.
ABS Media Demo.
You just go out and start playing. But you need musicians with amazing, the thing of being able to just lay something down and just start playing, and you have to have also amazing intuition and amazing ears. You have to be able to be really good on those levels, and it takes special players. So once I did this thing with Edie, I started looking for people who fit into those categories, and it's just, they can't be very big either. It's got to be pretty small, because otherwise you get everybody stepping on each other's toes. It's just about, so I think I got the right people. It's just getting the time and everybody's schedule and all that, putting that together. But that's one of those projects that, also I played a little on Bruce's new record too, which is
ABS Media Demo.
coming out pretty soon. I got a copy of it about a week ago, and I really like it. It sounds really good. It has great songs and Bruce's good performances on it.
He's sitting in quite a few shows every now and then.
Yeah.
He's,
He's a great player. He's one of those guys that fits in really well no matter what. He listens very carefully, and he has a good command of styles. He can tell right away what's appropriate in any given tune.
Have you talked to Ornette Coleman?
I haven't seen him for a while, but he's really a sweet person. He's a great man, so far we've been listening to him the times we've been to New York. But
I really like that album.
Yeah, he's just an amazing player. And it was fun to do that, too. It was a fun project. I learned a lot working with our dad.
What's in the future for the dead? Do you guys have any new? Are you working on new
We're
stuff?
working on a live album. And this, I think we've got this one pretty much in the can. Phil and Cutler are working on it back home. And I suppose I'll be working on it too during the summer or coming up the next few months. We hope to have it out by summer. I think we probably will.
Is that material from how far back?
It's mostly from the last tour.
ABS Media Demo.
Any thought? I mean, you have this vast vault of stuff there that people are dying for you to put out on CD.
Yeah.
Is that being
Actually, that is being activated presently, and maybe by Christmas, the first of our archival stuff, that stuff from the vault, will be coming out, and that will be an ongoing thing. And it'll probably come out in the through Grateful Dead merchandising rather than with
ABS Media
with a record company.
Yeah, people have been crying for that for years.
Yeah,
is that
well,
what sets of shows or particular shows?
It remains to be seen. There's several different approaches, but it seems that it's going to start out by being a few choice shows, or like the most requested shows, you know what I mean? Or whatever, Deadhead's personal favorites, you know?
Yeah. You're going to have a poll or something?
No, we've got one of the guys who's working on it is a guy who's a major tape collector, and who's had a huge Grateful Dead collection forever, and has spent an awful lot of time listening, and also is plugged in to the tapers and the collectors and all that, and he has a pretty good sense of what it is that people like. And also Dan Healy is the other participant in that, the kind of guiding force behind it. He's got more experience mixing and listening to the Grateful Dead probably than any other person in the world. So it's in good hands, the whole project. This will be an ongoing thing, like I say. So if the shows you want doesn't come out in the first month, it definitely will come out later.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
they'll all be
great.
CDs, and they'll all be remastered, and they'll all be as good as it can be. So it'll be as good as we can make it. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, that's tremendous. That's like that can take forever. It's just one of those.
We expect it to take us well past the turn of the millennia.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, you must have, as far as going back and getting real old material, and it's still kind of hard to.
Well, you see, one of the other approaches to it would be like the from day one approach. You know, that's release everything, the oldest stuff first, and just release everything.
Just go in a chronological
But that's too sweeping for the members of the band. You know what I mean? I don't. Most of us can't handle it. It's too. Oh God, we don't want to go back that far.
Yeah, I've got a tape of you and Sarah playing.
Oh my God, where did you get that?
I guess KPFA played it on the radio.
Oh my
It's just
God.
it's about 45 minutes or so.
Yeah.
I guess you're playing in one of the
The Tangent.
It was the Tangent,
The
yeah.
Tangent in Palo Alto.
yeah, and it's got the what is his name? The Weaver Roll and a couple other great songs on it.
Yeah, it's got some
really
nice
fun to
songs.
listen to. It's super quality.
Oh, we had a nice time, Sarah and I. You know, we had a nice thing. You know, that's the only chance anybody has to hear me play the fiddle. Boy, is my fiddle playing rotten. Woo! I forgot all about it. I'd like to hear that sometime and see what it's like.
Yeah, I can make one up. I can probably get it to you Saturday.
Oh my God, yeah, do it if you could. If you would, I'd really appreciate
Yeah,
that.
no problem.
Yeah, I don't have any remnants.
Tomorrow. I get the other
That's
side.
going way back.
That's about half an hour or so, and then there's Warlock stuff, or early pre-Warlock stuff, and then the other side is Cassidy from in the middle of a rap, two separate raps that are about 45 minutes. It's a real interesting tape.
Oh, great. Yeah, I was thinking that we ought to let Kesey put out, you know, that thing they've got. They're now producing tapes from their acid test stuff and all that. Zane Kesey is. We ought to let them put that stuff out through merchandise. I was thinking that would be nice. Related weirdness, you know.
I was going to ask you about that, if you had heard about that, if you had a chance to see
Oh,
it
it's
yet.
terrific. Well, there's one thing they have of Cassidy in the back house that is as good an example of the flavor of Neil Cassidy, the way he looked and the way he moved and the way he talked, as anything you can get. I mean, it's right up there. That combination of that and you know, a good read through Kerouac's Cassidy stuff, and you'll have Cassidy. You know, you'll have a good flash of who he was and what he was like.
ABS Media Demo.
Yeah, I guess merchandising would be a good place. That's a perfect fit.
It's one of those things where I think it'd be right up the alley of certain deadheads. The more astute or the more
Yeah, you
historic.
gotta be into it, but for those who are into it, it'd be the classic way to.
Well, people who have been turned on through the Grateful Dead to, you know,
Your forefathers.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I call it.
The
They're
stuff
like my
that's our
grandparents.
background.
If you're my
the
initial
beatnik stuff.
turn on,
Right.
I look at them as
That's
like
where we're coming.
ancient,
That's exactly
you know,
where we come from.
grandparents.
Yeah, there you go.
Flames.
That's exactly right. Anybody who wants a sense of history to go along with the Grateful Dead experience, you know, some sense of where it came from. Cassidy, yeah. That's a beautiful tape, it really is. It's well worth having.
Yeah, no, I keep hitting the seeing the ads in Golden Road.
Yeah.
ABS Media Demo.
She's really more my friend. We were married for a long time. We lived together for a long time, and then we were married for a long time. And we're friends, and, you know, so, yeah, she still has a house in Eugene. But I never have lived up there, really.
Yeah.
I've stayed at the house a lot of times when I go up there, but most of the time when I go up there, I stay with Keys,
ABS Media
the
Demo.
Kesey family, wherever they happen to be. They're my friends, really, too. So, and Carolyn now lives down back in Centerfeld now. So it's nice to have her closer where we can get together and talk, hang out, and stuff.
Instead of going up there. How come you guys don't play up there more?
ABS
Well, it's another one of those things. We have a problem finding some place to play. Austin Stadium is about it for us. We are actually going there pretty soon.
You are going? Oh.
Yeah, we are playing in
Yeah,
Austin. We just blew out one of our other shows.
No, I'm thinking in terms of I have to get some. I love
ABS Media Demo.
I'll be underway here in a second.
That's okay. I'm totally bored. I'm not doing anything.
Okay.
I'd be sitting down at the theater. We'd be throwing cards in the hat right now. If we weren't doing it.
I do appreciate it. It's a big deal. Covering all the grounds here.
It's all cards in the hat, Steve.
ABS Media Demo.
So good, so good.
So would that be one of the stadium with the CSNN? Is that
Actually, we're trying to figure out.
We're trying to put that together, so it's still,
It's a possibility.
yeah.
and that's like August?
ABS Media
No,
Demo.
no, that's
No.
quick because we have
It's gonna be pretty soon.
June.
Another gig and
Yeah, I think it would be June.
Wow.
yeah, it is gonna be.
But there's no place in Portland.
23rd.
Coliseum is too small still.
There's another place we're looking at.
The Healy Lights? The one
Yeah.
Healy Lights, yeah. I don't know what the hell it is.
But it'll probably be so it's gonna be awesome.
We owe the Northwest some shows.
Yeah,
ABS
I
Media
was
Demo.
fairly vocal. And I used to write letters all the time.
I know, we've had a lot of people.
McIntyre
We get tons of
teed me
them.
off when he made one comment about there wasn't enough of a market share or something.
Oh, that's a
That
crock of
was
shit.
a cold, that was a cold.
That
That was called,
It
you
was
know.
a dumb thing to say.
Yeah, and I got all. I wrote this note back.
That's not, never the reason
Certain
we
of the
don't go
Northwest
places.
demand that you retract your announcement.
Yeah, it wasn't their fault that the population was.
No, actually, it's probably as far as terms of getting a mellow crowd who understands what to do.
ABS
Yeah,
Media
it's
We're all in such a
Finding a decent
Except
fucking
after
place to
so.
play. Yeah, the audience is great up there. Finding a place, that's the
People up
hardest
there,
thing,
yeah,
really.
They cleaned up.
Yeah, I went to the last Austin show, and while it was real hot out, I didn't read reports of, mega trouble and
That was the
got
one
away
with Jimmy
pretty well.
Cliff, that was fun.
Yeah, it was like 99
He was
degrees
so
out.
great.
Yeah, he was real good. And everyone kind of just burned out when Robert Cray came on.
Well, Robert
Or
Clay
like
can't
here
hold
in
a
the
candle to
day.
Jimmy Cliff.
No.
Jimmy Cliff is like a ball of fire. Robert Clay is like a cool.
Yeah, no, it was super. And then everyone just died out for a while, laid in the shade, and then
You're
Cray
right.
came on. And it was like, all right, we can wake up again.
Jimmy Cliff is so fucking good. He's got such authority,
I guess the days of the Hulk Center are over too.
Way too small.
ABS Media
I could go in there. I mean, we had a hard time going there with my acoustic. Just me and John. It wasn't even the acoustic band, and that stressed the place out.
Yeah, no, I remember in '83 that was the greatest.
I could probably play there with my band. Actually, we could probably play a couple of nights there. That's
ABS
well, if there's ever time, it'd be fun to take my band on a
I was
West
gonna
Coast
say, not
tour.
even JGB.
The JJ, my band could play Seattle
working
or
around
Eugene, you know, that could happen. But all these things in good time, as they say, you know.
ABS Media Demo.
We eventually get around to everywhere, although a lot of times by the time we do, nobody cares anymore.
Yeah, otherwise it gets us out over in a
ABS
big field of
Media
Montana or something.
Oh,
Wherever it
I'll
shows
tell
up.
you,
Yeah.
some places we go to, I don't know, when we go in, like Texas, I mean, for some reason we don't never do really very well in either Houston or Dallas. It's like, you know, but we go there doggedly.
Little tiny places there. Remember, like in San Antonio.
Then we
That
did
was some
great.
years ago. We just barely filled a theater.
Yeah, but
Sometimes we didn't even. There were a couple times
No.
in San Antonio, no one.
that's right. That's right.
And El Paso too. We had some live.
ABS Media Demo.
Are you amazed at how much, I mean, from being able to play there just, what was that, 7, 8 years ago? To be able to, I mean, there were people outside, and obviously not everyone could get in, but to be able to even pull it off. And now, just shaking your head and going, there's no freaking way we'd ever play.
It's
ABS Media Demo.
luckily it's been slow enough and steady enough. It hasn't been like some dramatic big push, you know. The record made us more visible, but it really didn't make that big of a change in the audience. It just put a little bit of back pressure on it, you know. But it didn't add huge amounts of thundering herds of new deadheads. It's actually more the other way around, that the number of deadheads has slowly been growing to the point where the deadheads can pretty much make us a hit record
ABS
by
Media
buying it,
Demo.
you know. I mean, I don't. That record possibly spilled out a little farther than others did because Touch of Grey was such a first top 10 hit.
ABS Media Demo.
That
What are the
was,
sales for Go to Laugh?
geez, I haven't.
They're not there. I mean, they're not.
Gold.
It's going well, though, I guess, in
It's,
comparison.
yeah, it's
I think it's around 650,000, maybe 700,000. Yeah.
ABS Media Demo.
No, it did just fine. Still selling. But it's, you know, and obviously we didn't have a hit single off.
What do you think that was? Just the version.
ABS
You put up the
Media
jam in
Yeah, but it's single, that's all.
the jam on Foolish Heart. Seemed to,
Well,
from the live tapes anyway, you can listen to it.
yeah,
It's
that's
a
the
longer
thing is you
song,
can't
and
put out a single that long, you know what I mean? It was already stressed out because it was such a long single and we refused
ABS
to cut it.
Media Demo.
I just said, I am not going to cut this, I don't care, you know? Because we made stupid cuts on, I mean, the single version, the actual single version of Touch of Grey was cut mercilessly.
Sure.
That was dumb, you know?
ABS
And
Media
and we
Demo.
also did the same thing with Weir's tune, Throwing Stones. And it's just, I said with this record, I said, I am not going to make this, reduce this tune to idiocy by slashing the shit out of it, you know what I mean?
ABS Media
So we
Demo.
released it, but that was probably our problem. It may have done better if we didn't. But, you know, the thing is that we're not a single. We're not a single.
That's not how you measure.
No, that's not who we are. I mean, it's not what we do, and it's not who we are, and we certainly aren't the top 40. I mean, our relationship to top 40 music is pretty remote. It's almost as remote as our relationship to, say, classical music or even mainstream jazz. You know, we're about 90 degrees off of just about everything.
ABS Media Demo.
I know a lot of Deadheads were, well, not, you know, I guess rooting isn't the
Disappointed.
right, no, I guess rooting isn't the right
ABS
word,
Media
but
Demo.
they're hoping it didn't get as big.
Right.
You know, so
well,
it's going to cut down on the,
it's all in
number
the hands of
of-
Deadhead, so I think that probably has some effect, you know, that probably, it's like praying for rain. If enough people pray for rain, it rains, but it's the same if enough people pray for no rain, then it doesn't rain. Don't print that either. That sounds really stupid.
No.
No, really cause problems.
They should all be out there praying for rain.
Do you remember anything from the last time you played here in 1970?
Oh, well, I remember something that almost nobody else remembers, that the guy that opened for us was the mayonnaise kid. Does anybody remember that kid? Or the oleomargarine kid?
ABS Media.
He was this guy who inherited a huge fortune from the oleomargarine family or something, and he was celebrated as being, he wanted to give it all away. He was going to turn it all to cash, and he was going to give it all away. He was like a confirmed hippie or something, and so he opened up and played a few tunes with an acoustic guitar. It was really embarrassing. It was so dumb. It was really this dumb thing. And that's what I remember most about it.
ABS Media Demo.
Where did you play?
We played in some metal nightmare kind of room, a big, like Civic Center type of deal. It was all, I remember it being mostly metal. When I had the classic metal clang, you know, yeah.
See the moon there? It's cool.
Is it?
Yeah, kind of up there, diving.
Well, we can
ABS
get a
Media
couple seats on
Demo.
the moon rocket.
You guys were filling applications.
As a matter, I think maybe.
It's space travel, right?
Oh, Jesus Christ! And that is what they should do with the whole defense
ABS Media
budget. You
Demo.
know, if they went to defuse the whole defense mentality, they should pour it all into space. You know, let's all go into fucking space.
Yeah, let's go to Disneyland.
Let's go
ABS
wreck something
Media
that nothing lives on. Like we can go and reduce some other planet to a burned out cinder without endangering any life. You know, and we'll go someplace that doesn't have any life of any sort.
We're trying to make it work.
Right.
ABS
What is
Media
happening
Demo.
as far as personally in Europe and in the rainforest?
Actually, you know, I had an interesting meeting with a guy who's a senator from Brazil. He's actually kind of a Green Party senator who was elected to their version of Congress, and he gave me quite a long rap, along with some other environmentalists, about the state of the forest in Brazil. And actually, things are starting to improve a little. They're turning back the big hydroelectric program, which would have offed thousands and thousands of square miles of forest. They're cutting back that the Rubber Tappers Union, which is a very environmentally conscious organization, there is gaining some actual political power, and some of
ABS Media
the
Demo.
effort. Brazil has been trying to settle its own land. That's really been its trip. But their notion is they view the Indians as not citizens. Their version of a citizen is that you pretty much have to be a
ABS
Portuguese-speaking
Media
white person, and they've been settling these people into the forests, hoping to create enough little population pockets so that, you know, it's a geopolitical move to
ABS
really
Media
call
Demo.
Brazil, all of Brazil, the Jungle Park and everything else, really one huge nation. So those attitudes are changing somewhat, and some of the logging and the clear cutting and burning is actually stopping. So there is some progress in the Brazilian rainforest, and a few other things too are being. It's actually a little. The thing of everybody putting their attention to it is helping. It's one of those things where now that things are starting to change just a little more, it's not time to let up. It's time to press on to bear down more. So we will definitely be doing more stuff about the rainforest one way or another. But again, this is really what this is really about, more than a direct action kind of thing. It's a thing of getting to know what the facts are and wading through the tremendous amount of bullshit in the environmental world. The environmental world is like all the others. It's political, and some groups don't associate with other groups. They don't talk to each other. So part of it is figuring out who it is that's doing the actual work, who it is that has a hands-on relationship to it, and people need to go out. They need to actually go out and get involved Here in Hawaii, you have a unique situation because this is America. It's also the only American rainforest is here in Hawaii. It is also being under attack.
Yeah, sure is.
In a big way.
ABS
So
Media Demo.
people in Hawaii have a unique opportunity here to actually do something about it. See, it's also an eminent domain problem. That is to say, we can't go to Brazil and say, hey, you guys got to change your rainforest attitudes. They say, hey, you guys already trashed your
ABS
forests.
Media Demo.
Right now it's our turn to trash ours. You can't tell us not to, and we can't. We're not in a position to do it. It's more a matter of world economics and so forth. And if the World Bank could get off the trip of sponsoring these so-called,
ABS Media
the
Demo.
civilization, the bias toward, the bias that says that hardware means civilization. In other words, if you're a third world country and you don't have hydroelectric dams and you don't have big, huge factories and you don't have all the rest of this stuff, you don't have a viable economy. The World Bank has been subsidizing a lot of the destruction inadvertently and under the guise of the seductive guise of progress. This means progress for your people because we'll have cheap energy. Well, shit doesn't mean a thing if what you're going to lose is the impossible to measure value of the rainforest and the incredible amount of life that exists in it and the complex genetic bank that it represents. I mean, there's no, you can't put a price on that on any level, aesthetically, economically, or anything else. It's a matter of how you choose to deal with things. So really, it's the narrowness of the World Bank's viewpoint. Now, there are people that are going on that really are making the World Bank, I think, more conscious of this. And that's a good effort. It needs to be done. Because otherwise there won't be any... it's the old Ryman Auditorium, the original Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, wow.
They moved it.
Yeah, well, the auditorium and stuff is closed now. Now they have a park, Opryland. Opryland.
Next to Dollyland.
Oh, my God.
ABS
As far as the situation in Hawaii, are you going to be spending any time? How much time are you going to be on?
I'm not really involved with the rainforest thing here, and I don't know much about it, so it'd be stupid of me to start talking about it. I'm not the guy people should learn this from. My involvement has to do with what I do, which is scuba diving over here. So I've naturally got involved with the water and the ocean and the reefs and the little margin of life that exists right around the shore. That's what I experienced, and that's what I've learned the most about. And this is also the thing of where I'm really, my information is based on my informants in the scuba diving business,
ABS Media
and also my own. I've seen what anchors do to coral, and it's one of those things that's fairly obvious. It's a fairly cut and dried kind of deal, really. But there the problem is one that's more bureaucratic than it is a problem, a moral issue, so to speak. You know what I mean? Or even an economic one. The reef is the fundamental cornerstone of all of the economy of the islands. And everything from commercial fishing to, certainly most people come to Hawaii hoping to get a little swimming in. So everything that has to do with swimming, snorkeling, commercial fishing, sport fishing, a lot of what is recreational about Hawaii has to do with maintaining a healthy coral reef. The reef is the bottom of the food chain. It provides food for the fish, and so on. And the fish, of course, end up on people's plates and so on. And if you do away with the coral, you're basically trashing the whole economy of the island. I mean, or at least a good large percentage of it.
ABS Media Demo.
So it's a common sense, to me, it's a common sense kind of deal. And I hope that the people in Hawaii can see that that's the nature of it. The thing about the rainforest is really one of those things that natives here,
ABS Media Demo.
anybody who lives here or was born here or resident has, or is living here or whatever, should find out about what's going on. Make an effort to stop it.
Here they're doing
ABS
is
Media Demo.
up in Wyoming, drilling for geothermal energy.
Yes.
And if you listen to the natives, they're all firmly in the belief that that's why the volcano is going off right now, and it's heading.
Who's to say they're wrong?
ABS
And
Media
it's heading. Actually, it's still pretty far away, but it's heading in the direction of the geothermal drillers. And
I mean, figure it out. What's more civilized? To have a society that continues for thousands of years without disturbing much of anything, or to come in with all kinds of hardware and trash everything in 100 years or so. Which one is civilization? That's the problem, and that's essentially the thing about the indigenous peoples in the rainforest all over the place. They're being systematically eliminated everywhere from Malaysia to
ABS
Brazil.
Media Demo.
I mean, all of the rainforest. These people are being driven out. They're the ones that know most about it, and not only that, but they have been living a life consistent with what's going on there, and they haven't been damaging it. They've been living there for thousands and thousands of years.
so you can make a tennis article about
Yeah, it's there's something very askew there about what's being done to the planet, and just everybody needs to see this for themselves and make decisions accordingly.
ABS Media
It's
Demo.
like on Earth Day. I'm promoting for next Earth Day. I'm trying to get this thing going where instead of going out and having celebrations and going out and doing stuff, that on Earth Day everybody goes home and turns off the lights, shuts down the electricity in their house, doesn't burn any gas, doesn't drive their cars. You know what I mean?
One day.
For one day out of the year, I think that would be a kind thing to do, and it would give everybody a day to contemplate a little bit what you could do without, what you don't
ABS
need.
Media Demo.
Yeah, so I'm pushing for that for next Earth Day.
Headlights, electricity, man.
Yeah, well, it's going to happen. I mean, they're talking seriously now about the
ABS
electric
Media
car.
Demo.
Yeah.
They can't run any
They
more
can't.
gas down there, man. You're going to die. People are going to die there.
Yeah, isn't that
It's-
insane?
It's
Your
incredible.
lungs feel terrible.
Yeah.
Man.
It's just not practical to use the internal combustion engines down there and be burning fuel and put those,
ABS Media
all that
Demo.
stuff in the air. It's not practical.
Tens of thousands of people moving every day there still.
That's right. It's not going to get less.
It's just like everywhere. You look at, they build houses on without seeing where water runoff is.
Right.
And then houses get
ABS
flooded
Media
out.
Demo.
That's right. I mean, in San Francisco, the thing they're trashing there is the bay. They're slowly filling it, which will change, of course, the weather there. It'll be just like another LA if it all gets filled in. There won't be any prevailing westerly blowing across the nice
ABS
blue
Media
bay
Demo.
and clearing away the smog. It'll end up just hanging there, and it'll be just as dangerous and just as awful as LA is, unless the people do
Yeah,
something
this
about
would be too if we didn't have trade winds.
it. That's right.
More cars here.
Yeah.
Sure.
For,
I was amazed at how
We're
big
working on
Honolulu
the Bay
is.
too, in the Bay Area.
Yeah, we're trying to focus down to a local issue because it's one of those things where get local because environmentally that really makes the most sense. You know what I mean? So in terms of what we can do for the world is we can do something about our local situation, and that's essentially what everybody else can do too. Focus in on the local
kids
stuff.
up where I live up in Sonoma, they went into high school and they cleaned out. They've been working on it. It's an ongoing project. Graduating class and passed it on. They took one little tree, right, that was dying, and they cleaned it up.
Yeah.
Put all their efforts into it. They plant trees there on their own time, stuff like that.
Yeah, all you gotta do is get them interested and make them.
And they replant
realize
trees.
it.
They're definitely interested in kids are.
Yeah,
They are definitely interested. This is like
This is the bottom
their
up,
number
guys.
one issue.
How can you move to Hawaii?
I couldn't get a full-time job. I tried. I would have never left Portland. I'd love to go back. And
ABS
I called up
Media
here one
Demo.
morning, and they gave me a job that night. And I had 12 days.
Fantastic. Well, shit, this ain't such a bad place to be.
No. I had, just get over here. And
You had to have some credentials.
Have you ever been to the other? I mean, you must have been to other parts of the island.
I just finally went to the Big Island to cover the volcano.
We were just up to the north part of this island. Shit, it's
Kauai?
beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, Kauai is
I've been around
gorgeous.
this island, and I've been up to the Big Island. I like the Big Island a lot.
Yeah,
Size is pretty.
that's where I mostly go.
I'm not down. We saw
People are
the
just over there.
And it's very small scale.
Yeah, it's real Hawaii.
Yeah.
Kept telling me.
Yeah,
It's changing a lot, bro. It's changing,
Yeah.
But that today, yeah, this island is beautiful.
It is. I've never
So
saw.
nice.
Where was that? The northwest corner we were at? Northeast?
No, yeah, we almost got the northeast.
ABS
You went to Windward?
Yeah.
Yeah, I live in Kailua.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, we went to Kailua.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I live right across right from Palos Island. I know that's where
That's
place where
right.
I go.
And what is it?
Bird Shit Island. We went to Bird Shit Island.
Yeah, Bird Shit Island.
Oh, wasn't one of them a refuge? Isn't
They
it?
call it
Yeah,
Bird
yeah.
Shit Island. I don't know why. I guess
It's
it's pretty small.
wildlife refuge.
Well, that's one of those swim places. I think the one with the Twin Rocks is
Yeah, that was
that's a
that had the
wildlife refuge for sure. That's
The
a
birds seem like they know it.
Yeah, they were fearless.
Yeah, I just loaded up my dog and threw her in quarantine.
Yeah.
4 months in hell.
Oh, poor
ABS
guy.
Media
Yeah.
Demo.
That's right. Yeah, they don't want to have any of that.
Yeah, they don't want to know about it. They won't even let. There's 8 people here who have guide dogs, which are blind.
I guess they're not going to
They
bring
won't
my
let them up
spider
The
collection.
island without having to come back to quarantine. People have to travel.
ABS
So it's just
Media
like-
Demo.
They have to, because that could, an island.
I guess you
like
can forget about
One
bringing your
bug.
7-year locusts.
one bug, one bacteria coming in can change the whole
Yeah.
ecosystem of this island.
Yeah.
It's happened
And it's
before.
happened before, yeah.
They're pretty paranoid about it.
ABS Media
The mongoose is
Yeah.
kind of a nice
That's
one.
what they're worried about. Not so much the dogs with rabies, but that one will get wild and catch
Right.
on to the mongoose.
Rabies
Yeah.
would really be a disaster on this island. Any of these
Oh,
islands.
shit.
But when I was reading in the history,
ABS Media Demo.
centipedes, mosquitoes,
Centipedes, that's a nasty
fleas.
bummer.
Oh, man.
Oh, the poisonous ones here. Yeah, I met a girl who got bit the other day.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
They weren't here. They're not natural to here. They were brought in on something.
Everything.
they still bust people for snakes
ABS
a lot.
Media
Oh,
Demo.
yeah.
Snakes,
Yeah,
yeah.
very good one.
Sure.
They don't want to let snakes loose here.
And they've
No
got-
snakes here. Isn't that amazing?
Well, they've got
Well,
these
how did
things
they get
called
here?
brown tree snakes that
Yeah.
come in from
Yeah.
like ships and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're starting to.
Oh, those are poisonous, aren't they?
They're pretty nasty from
They're
what
from
I
Australia?
understand. They're just really catching on here.
Oh,
so
they're
I'm
great.
worried about it. It's gonna
Oh,
be, you know,
dandy.
soon.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
fragile. This is
you go
really
hiking.
fragile.
Hey, it's okay. You got mongoose already. They're waiting for the snakes. They're waiting for the snakes.
Catch up one day and just start tearing out your hair. You'll know what it is.
ABS Media Demo.
Jeez.
The cockroaches.
Yeah, yeah, they're
Pretty
big.
big, huh?
They're armor
They just got
piercers.
Not here in the hotel.
No,
Armor piercers. But
Yeah.
they're pretty. They're kind of reddish.
ABS
They aren't at
Media
least
Demo.
that
There's
nasty.
18 different kinds here.
18.
At least 18. I really
Whoa.
know about it.
They love it here.
Oh, they have the big wide ones that are belt buckle style. Andrew Dice
This is
Clay.
about women. That was about John.
ABS
Right?
Media
Right.
Yeah.
Andrew
Did you
Dice.
see what
Oh,
happened?
yeah.
What happened?
He's hosting Saturday Night Live tomorrow, and Dora Dunn walked up and said she will not do the show with him. And I forgot
The women
girl's
on the
name.
Sinead
show?
O'Connor
Just
now.
one woman, just her, a woman.
And it's Sinead O'Connor.
She won't do it either.
The musical guest now.
That's too bad. She's great.
They say that he's, but he's a comedian, man. Why can't he make jokes about women, man?
Well, if they can, well, let
It's
him.
all comedy. I mean,
Men should be able
it's
to.
a put on.
Men should be able to
If you're, he's pretty
boycott
clever.
Roseanne Barr.
yeah, I've seen
ABS
him,
Media Demo.
And he's
Great
funny,
clever
yeah,
guy,
guys like him.
He's your classic Brooklyn guy.
Gross.
Well,
Right.
I mean, girls don't like him, but
No, of
okay.
course not.
So, they didn't like, there's something.
They didn't like Laurel and Hardy either.
WC Fields and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But, that,
ABS Media Demo.
I don't understand why Saturday Night Live, why anyone who's like Nora Dunn who's a comedian on there, she should understand that. I'm more protesters have to say the guy, she walks off because he's offensive to women. I mean,
She's an actress.
he
She's probably got a lot of pressure.
offensive to women.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. Come on.
His promo is great though for the show. He gets on and
Yeah,
goes,
he says, I'm going to be
I'll be there. I don't know about you, but I'm going to be there. So.
Eddie Murphy was not offensive to women.
Well,
I mean, it's hard to tell
ABS
why.
Media Demo.
I mean, and I hear the guy isn't at all like that. That's just a stage person, persona, and
It's just an
he's a
act.
normal guy, and that's just his act.
Yeah.
Don't lose your feet, Brooklyn.
Yeah, right. But
ABS
My
Media
own.
Demo.
Are you from Brooklyn originally?
What a trip.
Great
Saturday Night
place.
Fever Land.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of really protein weirdos come from Brooklyn. Ramblin' Jack Elliott's from Brooklyn.
yeah.
He's a good one. That guy, Don Levy, the guy that wrote Ginger Man, writer, is, he's a total Englishman, but he's really a guy from Brooklyn. There's all kinds of weird people. I mean,
ABS
It's one of the
Media.
biggest cities in America.
well, people from Brooklyn reinvent themselves. You know, they have the power of completely reinventing
Yeah, you
themselves.
gotta swallow it
To
up.
avoid
You
being
have
from
to come up
Brooklyn.
with a rap, or
Yeah,
you just don't exist.
yeah.
Really.
You
I have
gotta,
no idea what Brooklyn's
you gotta come up with a rap.
ABS Media Demo.
Yeah, Queens is nothing like Brooklyn.
It's weird. Speaking of writing, whatever happened to Sirens of Tisha?
Sirens of Titan.
Titan is that?
Sirens of Titan.
Yeah.
ABS Media Demo.
Well, me and my friend Tom Davis generated a pretty decent second draft screenplay from it, and it looks like I've gotten some interest from Menno, who's Menno Mayes, who's a friend of ours.
ABS Media Demo.
He was responsible for the Indiana Jones. He wrote the screenplay for Color Purple, and he's a high-powered friend of ours in the movie business, who's actually helping out with the Grateful Dead movie that we
ABS
were
Media
talking about.
Demo.
Has expressed some interest in producing it as a television thing. So I've been rethinking it. My original vision of it was to have it be sort of a high-tech movie, but really the story
ABS
Uh,
Media Demo.
the story wants more time. It's like a Grateful Dead song, you know what I mean? It wants more time than the standard hour and a half or hour and 40 minutes of a normal feature movie. So I just want to get it. I just want to produce it and have it be as good as I can make it, and I want to protect it from being made into something inferior. You know what I mean? That's been my main interest. I don't care when it happens, and I got my whole life to deal with it. I love to direct it. I like to have a real hands-on relationship to it, and because for me, it's very clear. It's a visual, and it's when you read. Occasionally, when you read a book, it leaves a movie in your head. It's like watching a movie. For me, Sirens of Titan was that kind of experience. So
ABS Media Demo.
by the end of this year, I will own it forever. The screen rights to it, anyway, pretty much, and that's basically what I wanted to do. I wanted my
ABS Media
getting involved in it was because I love the work so much that my priority is not necessarily to make something out of it, but to avoid having it be made badly into something that's not as good as it could be. It's got such a wonderfully
ABS Media
uh,
Demo.
has such a wonderful ironic tone, and to me it's very visual, and it's also has a classic first, second, and third act kind of structure that you want for a play or a movie or something like that. It's just very convoluted and very different, but it's basically characters being transformed, and in a way it's very basically a love story, a triangle really, and it still is very fresh. It's a fresh, when you read it now, it's funny if it was the fact that it was written in the early 60s, I think. It still is very apt. It also has great range. It ranges from being terribly
ABS
funny to
Media
being
Demo.
very touching and sweet. And it's one of those things that, yeah, I think it's a masterpiece of fiction myself. I think it's, in my opinion, it's Vonnegutt's best book. It's the most complete vision, and to me, it was just it deserves an A+ treatment.
I don't know. That's been kind of going on. You've been talking about it for years.
Yeah, I've had it ever since the mid '70s almost. And I've been involved with it. Well, '78 or around there, '77, '78 is when I first got involved with it, and bought the screen rights to it. And I've been working on it off and on ever since then.
ABS Media Demo.
He's another one there that sort of has that style that lends itself to Grateful Dead.
ABS Media Demo.
Yeah, well, there's a certain irony to, he's got a certain irony. It's a certain wry tone. And the thing of the
ABS
unexpected.
Media
Yeah, he's very provocative, very interesting writer.
You ever met him?
Never have, no. I kind of don't want to bother him. You know what I mean?
ABS
I got a feeling like the last thing in the world he wants to do is meet somebody like me. That's my feeling is I would love any input that he cared to put forward about the work. But apart from that, I feel like all I would be is another one of those people that he doesn't need
Yeah.
in his life. You know what I mean? So I'd sure like to spare him that anyway. And
ABS Media
Does he know that you own the rights?
yeah, he does.
He knows that part.
Yeah, I don't think he knows who I am, in the sense that I don't doubt that he's gone to any Grateful Dead shows or any such thing. But
ABS Media Demo.
I've been a fan of his ever since I read that book.
Who are your heroes?
ABS
My
Media
heroes?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right word.
Well, in music, there's all kinds of them. Django Reinhardt is one of my heroes. Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, Bill Monroe, Earl Scruggs,
ABS Media Demo.
Freddie King, B.B. King, Chuck Berry.
Non-musically.
Non-musically, certainly Kesey. Kesey's one of my heroes.
ABS Media
In a
Demo.
way. Kerouac, Allen Ginsberg, Burroughs, our artists, our writers, our poets, our artists.
ABS Media Demo.
Lots of painters, Paul Klee, Picasso, Salvador Dali.
ABS Media Demo.
See, the gallery over here just got convicted of selling fraudulent dollies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's right over here, the one on Kalakaua.
That's
Art Gallery.
That's incredible. There's so many authentic dollies. It's, you'd
ABS
have to be
Media
really
Yeah,
lame.
like peripheral involvement. They touted him as being hands-on in the process, and they also handled like Red Skeleton and Tony Curtis.
Gotcha.
And a whole bunch
One
of
of
other
those
people,
deals.
but
Yeah, somebody's actually putting out
ABS
my
Media
paintings,
Demo.
my drawings in limited editions too, lithographs of them, which is one of those things. Yeah, I was originally an art student. I do computer graphics now,
ABS Media
but I haven't had any
Demo.
of them converted to flat art. But I spent some time experimenting around with the airbrush about a year or so worth of it, about 5 years ago, and I did also a lot of watercolors and
ABS Media Demo.
I just did a whole lot of. So I kind of had a huge spasm of work which I hadn't done for quite a long time. Now I work really intermittently, but I only do it for fun. I don't do it very seriously, but it's interesting to me that some of it is that now
ABS
it's actually
Media Demo.
enough of a demand for some of it
who's
it's
dealing with them? Yeah, like,
well, merchandising I think is probably one place you can hear it, but I think they're mostly limited edition deals. You know what I mean? Signed lithographs, like
ABS
500 copies of something, signed and numbered, that kind of deal. But probably a book of stuff will come out at some time in the future. My best stuff is all little stuff, but in this case, there's a
ABS
few
Media Demo.
big airbrush things that are coming out actual size. But my favorite of my own stuff, I don't do it for other people, so it's, I only do
do it for yourself.
I only do it for fun, really, and because I like to do it.
ABS Media Demo.
There's a whole lot of little stuff that's about postcard size that I think works for me. It's effective on some level. I don't know. Art is like
ABS Media Demo.
one of those things that it either does something to you and you like it for some reason or another, or this is Furry Lewis, this guy here, the black guy, who is one of the original old time guys that recorded in the 20s and 30s. He recorded one of the first recorded versions of Casey Jones. Casey Jones song. Yeah, he's a real guy, and he really is. That's what I remember about this movie. This happened just like maybe 2 years, 3 years before he died.
ABS Media Demo.
Forgot about that. Furry Lewis. Yeah. You only hear him play for about 3 seconds, and that's it. I think it already happened.
ABS Media Demo. ABS
I think we
Media
talked about
Demo.
everything that I ever knew anything about.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You did do your homework.
I didn't have to do anything, actually. It's all in there. It's like, I've had dreams of meeting you. I mean,
If I had talked to Garcia, what would I ask him?
Media
No,
Demo.
it's like you were talking about Flanagan and not wanting to impose on him. In a weird way, I felt like that. Though I've known, from reading everything I knew, that it wouldn't be any kind of tripling.
Why are you questions? He told us that.
ABS Media
No, this is by the biggest draw I've had in quite some time. Truly respect what you stand for, how you maintain it. It keeps a lot of people going strong.
Yeah, well, that's
I can attest to
it works
that.
for us, too.
Yeah, I used to write Cheaper Than Your Analyst Gang. It's a lot more fun, too. So definitely got a lot going for it. I do appreciate you taking the time. I'll make
ABS
it.
Media Demo.
I'll make you a copy of that tape anyway.
That'd be great. I'd love to hear that. That'd be fun for me. A guitar pick. No kidding. I tell you, when you don't have one, they're the hardest thing to come up with something that's kind of like them. You know?
Didn't have one.
Yeah, it's amazing. I came here with all my stuff.
So,
I looked in the case. See, I already gobbled that one a long time ago.
I had a couple.
I gobbled that on my last trip to Hawaii.
A tab of beer can.
Nah, it tears the strings out.
Quarter.
I had those plastic toothpicks that was about as close as I could get.
Yeah, those.
A quarter really rips the strings
quarter.
out, but it doesn't sound worth a shit either.
Wait, let's see. There's something else. That, no, not a match.
The matchbook folded over a couple of times, but
Over.
it only lasts about a minute and a half.
Yeah, they're disposable.
There's not enough on the old
Wait,
fingers
there's
there.
something
Just to a plastic comb sometimes
There's
works.
something else.
You just try and think of something.
There's something else.
ABS Media Demo.
For pigs,
A cockroach.
the cockroach.
A Hawaiian
The
cockroach.
cockroach is back.
Yeah, you get kind of messy. Huh?
Cockroach shells pigs, they're extremely rare.
We're going to take a break for a few minutes. We'll be back in a little while. Thank you.